This week's episode of Stardust Crusaders proves yet again that the Egypt arc is basically just a big comedy fun fest. This week's episode was hilarious. I especially love the foreshadowing at the beginning of this week's episode where Polnareff was mentioning the innocence of children. Well, that's going to end up biting him in the ass in this week's episode because he's going to be going up against Alessi, who is this one stand user who has this weird-looking shadow stand, which can attack people from the ground, and apparently it has some other weird ability to make people revert back to their childlike forms. It also causes them to lose their memories. Can you already see where this is going? In this week's episode, Polnareff is changed back into the pint-sized, childlike version of himself, and my god, does it lead to one of the funniest scenes of the entire series. But this week's episode is not without its action. In fact, let's talk about the stand user Alessi, who is so goofy looking. It's all about the hair and the bells and the sunglasses and the suspenders. He totally looks like something out of One Piece. He could definitely be like an ex-member of the Don Quixote crime family from that series. But what I really love most about Alessi is just like how much of a cowardly asshole this guy is. He just loves to pick on kids. In fact, his introduction is just him wailing on this one kid who got some paint on his pants. But right after that, it's all torture time for Polnareff, and it's all played for laughs. It is worth mentioning that Polnareff as a kid looks hilarious. He has buck teeth, he pretty much still has the same hair, and all of his clothes is really baggy. And unfortunately, when he goes up against Alessi attacks him in this alley where no one can see him, and he wraps him up with these pipes, and he's about to chop off his head with his stand's big-ass axe. And then luckily, Polnareff is able to bring out Silver Chariot. Now, right before Silver Chariot made its appearance in this week's episode, my first thought was, my god, wouldn't it be hilarious if Silver Chariot was like a baby kid version of itself? And that's exactly what's happening. And it looks so goofy and so hilarious. But it just gets better from there because Silver Chariot blocks one of Alessi's attacks and he ends up hurting himself when this piece of pipe ends up stabbing him in the neck because we had to have an extremely violent scene in this episode. It's sort of like mandatory for episodes of JoJo. But when Polnareff tries to escape, he runs into this one Egyptian woman who tries to help him, and she brings him back to her place, and this is where this bath scene happens, and Polnareff is excited. And he doesn't know why, because his memories are fading, he's reverted back to a childlike state, but at his heart, at his core, he's still an adult, and he feels like he's really getting away with murder here, especially because this woman is giving him a full-on body massage and sponge bath, and it just leads to a lot of funny scenes, and just, I can't even do the scene justice, guys. It's just something you have to see for yourself, and it goes on for quite some time, and I really thought it was going to go into some extreme violent territory, because while he was being bathed, I thought that the guy was going to come in with his shadow stand and just cut the woman's head off, and it almost went in that direction. Although I imagine things did not work out well for that woman, because she suddenly disappeared at the end of this week's episode, and there is Alessi himself getting ready to squeeze Polnareff's head and crush it to a pulp. So what's the rundown? On this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders, it was absolutely hilarious. What I really loved about this episode, too, is that we actually get to see what was happening at a different time. When Joseph and Abdul were having their ridiculous adventure, so was Jotaro and Polnareff. Although, really more Polnareff. And again, it's just another one of those episodes where you're like, man, this guy gets the worst freaking luck in the world. However, you gotta admit, he was probably feeling pretty lucky by the end of this week's episode, which was definitely one of the funniest scenes from the entire series, I think. Just to see Kid Polnareff's reactions with his big buck teeth was just really, really funny. And I'm really glad that's the direction it went in, because my first thought was when he was running down the alleyway was maybe this guy has shrinking powers, but no, he's going to end up turning into a kid. And like I said, I loved the foreshadowing at the beginning. I think that really worked out well, but this was just a really funny episode, and it surprises me because we're at the Egypt arc. This is when things are supposed to start getting really dangerous and serious, and it seems like nearly every single opponent that they've run into, aside from the first guy at the beginning who was blind, has just been a total goofball. I mean, even Anubis was kind of goofy in some senses, but this Alessi guy is ridiculous. Just the fact that he only wants to pick on kids and still thinks he's like some sort of badass adult is already hilarious in and of itself, aside from his just ridiculous design. But this week's episode was really funny, and it was going to be a two-parter. This was basically the setup, but I really loved the pacing of it. I love the animation and the artwork. I love the designs of the kid version of Polnareff and the little chibi-eyes version of Silver Chariot. I thought that was really funny, especially when he bent his sword. And of course, that final scene was just a freaking laugh riot. There's also some stuff for Iggy fans in this week's episode. You get to see what he was doing the entire time, which is continuing to do what Iggy always does, which is be a little asshole. Just running around doing his own thing, stealing people's sandwiches, and when he looks like he might actually help someone, he just ends up walking away and doing his own thing again. So Iggy is an interesting character. I still can't wait to see what they're going to do with him, but I can't wait to see next week's episode and to see how Polnareff is going to get out of this sticky situation, and just the fact that we've already seen like a smaller, like, younger version of Polnareff really makes me want to see the younger version of the other characters. Hopefully it will get to that, but who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. But I'm going to give this week's episode a 4 out of 5. Just a laugh riot episode that definitely had a lot going for it. It was a little slow in the first half, but by the middle of the episode, when Polnareff became a kid, it really got into full swing, and it was just a really fun, action-packed, and hilarious episode. Check it out, guys. Good stuff. Thank you guys for watching my review. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and like the video. And before you guys leave, please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders in the comments section below. What did you think of the stand user Alessi? Did you think this was a funny episode? What do you want to see from the rest of the Egypt arc? Make sure to subscribe to our channel and follow us on our social media like Facebook and on Twitter. And also check out our brand new video podcast series, The Powerful Nerdcast. There will be a link for that in the description box below. Thank you guys for watching. Super Kami Guru 9000. Out.